Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Wayne Biggs Jr., and I serve as CEO of the U.S. Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority. The Economic Development Authority was charged by Governor Bryant with producing a 20-year economic strategy, and today I am honored to share with you some of the findings and results of this new strategy. Before I do that, it is my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Governor of the United States Virgin Islands, the Honorable Governor Albert Bryant Jr. Governor Bryant.
Thank you, Wayne, and good afternoon to everyone. I really want to begin today by saying that Vision 2040 is not my plan. It's not the EDA's plan. It's your plan. It's our plan, collectively. Surely the Bryan and Roach administration helped launch it, and the USVI EDA is responsible for managing the planning process, but it belongs to all of us. That is probably the most important thing about this vision. It's a plan for the people, of the people, and by the people. Your voices were heard, and the Vision 2040 plan is the exact result. It's a plan that we intend to span multiple administrations as well as generations. So it is very humbling for me to be here today and share with you this plan. So when I ran for governor originally, we had a very simple plan to do. There were a lot of things ailing in the Virgin Islands, but there's three things that we wanted to do. Restore the trust of the people through transparency. And you've seen through our administration how we work to put the information out, whether it's online, directly, and you have learned that you can trust the word of this administration. Whether good or bad or indifferent, we give it to you straight. We also said that we're going to go out there and we're going to get more investment. You can see from the things that we're doing, whether it's expanding our marine program, making sure that the refinery stays on step and opens up on time, getting our projects done on Main Street or on waterfront. We have done that. We have attracted new business and investment. Well, the last part of our plan is investing in our people. And that's something that we really feel this 2040 plan helps to do. Because it's not about if we can get it done. It's about focus and direction to create jobs and economic prosperity for current and future residents of the territory. It's important that we focus in and understand that we want more than just tourism or healthcare or marine industry or the refinery, that we want a unified vision that will make the Virgin Islands brighter for us and for generations to come. I would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone who made this possible, from the federal EDA, who supplied the money to make 2040 come through. The U.S. Department of Commerce continues to develop and put money into the Virgin Islands to create these types of plans and stability for our local community. We also want to thank for the matching support from the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority through the Community Development Block Grant. That's something you hear quite often. Without that federal support, we certainly wouldn't be here today. The whole thing about it, too, is that they're a dedicated team of not only down at the EDA, but also our consultants that contributed to make this plan the best we can for the next 20 years. Now, I had the chance to see the report the other day, and it's very thorough, and it includes, much to my amusement, a lot of what we're already doing. A lot of valuable information in there. But it's not only about the plan. It's about the will, the political and the community will to effectuate the plan and to make it happen. Now, I know I will be coming back to it many, many, many times for reference and guidance, because I want to hear what the people say and then put that thought into action. But that's the point of this. We have a lot of challenges that we have to face between now and when we get to this new vision for the Virgin Islands. But it is a vision for a better future for all of us. I was particularly inspired to see all of the aspirational goals that are included in, because if you're not going to go big, you might as well go home. I want each and every one of you to read the plan and ask yourselves, what can I do to help? How can I make these goals come to life? And how what would I ask Mr. Biggs to do for me as we move along this line? You see, this Virgin Islands is about all of us. And like this, we will continue to invest in our people and contribute to the betterment of our islands, one by one, making our families resilient, our communities resilient, and all of these islands resilient. I would like to thank Mr. Biggs again and ask him to come on and talk to you a little bit about the plan and what we have in store for you for the Vision 2040. Thank you. Mr. Biggs?
Thank you, Governor Bryan. First, I want to thank the team that worked hard over the past 6 months. That includes a Vision 2040 task force whose members provided advice and guidance, and my staff with the VIEDA that helped organize events and keep us on track. We had superb supporting from Camoin 310, a national consulting group, and subcontractors who all have homes in the territory. However, I think most important, I'd like to thank the people of the Virgin Islands who participated in surveys, participated in open houses, and participated in the town halls. The data you provided to us allowed us to form this plan. Additionally, the International Economic Development Council provided assistance to the team along the way. For today's presentation, you will hear from me, from Chanel Peterson of my staff, and Dan Gunderson of Camoin 310. Excuse me. Our agenda is as follows. First, we'll talk about what went into making Vision 2040. We will summarize the key events and activities that took place over the past 6 months. Next, we will share with you some interesting lessons learned and takeaways from the project. This will be followed by a more in-depth look at how the territory can diversify its economy over the next 20 years. We will present 8 key targeted industry sectors that have the best chance of producing the economic growth we all desire. Vision 2040 spells out important goals that we must achieve. Not only are these goals articulated, but metrics are given so that we can track our progress. And finally, we share some of the new initiatives and recommendations that are included in Vision 2040 final report at the end of this presentation. You will be able to go to the website to access the executive summary and full report. Vision 2040 is a long-term strategy. There is a saying that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. This plan provides a map for us so that we head in the right direction. It is about making sure the U.S. Virgin Islands can be a place where businesses want to be, and making sure that those businesses can grow and create quality jobs that provide livable wages to improve what I like to call quality of place. It is not the only plan. In fact, there are many plans of government departments, nonprofit organizations, and other groups. Some of those other plans are annual plans, 5 and even 10-year plans. Vision 2040 provides the overarching goals. We hope that many of these other plans will support and, in fact, be made stronger by aligning under the Vision 2040 goals. We will soon share with you what those macroeconomic and aspirational goals are. But first, Chanel Peterson will review for us what has gone into the making of Vision 2040. Chanel?
Thank you, Mr. Biggs. Many of you have been part of Vision 2040 from its start, and I also want to thank you for your participation and support. Some of you may be tuning in for the first time, and I want to welcome you and encourage you to help make the territory a better place by supporting Vision 2040. To review, we kicked this project off in late September, early October of last year. We held a public presentation to introduce the project. We asked for your support, and more than 3,000 of you responded by filling out surveys, going online to give us your thoughts, tuning in to television and radio, and engaging in town halls via Zoom sessions. This first phase of community-based outreach and engagement lasted for 100 days. During the fall of 2020, our consultants performed detailed research and analysis. They met with one-on-one with key officials, facilitated meetings with task force, with focus groups and working sessions around key industries. We stayed on schedule with just a minor extension, and we produced a draft strategy early this year, and for the past 60 days have been putting the finishing touches on this 20-year plan. What makes Vision 2040 so different is the involvement of residents and businesses. This diagram summarizes the outreach and engagement that went into the creation of Vision 2040. Beginning at the top, we created a dedicated website, USVI2040.com, and used social media to get the word out. And man, we got the word out. The website was used a lot. In fact, there were 5,700 sessions, 4,300 users, and 560 people who signed up to receive updates and announcements. And we reached over 30,000 people through social media. Moving around the circle, there were 60 people who were interviewed one-on-one. These were largely experts in subject areas, heads of departments, business owners, and local civic leaders. There were 3 focus groups, and we held subject-related work sessions on topics such as manufacturing, agriculture, real estate, and more. Surveys were sent to all registered businesses operating in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Approximately 20% of all businesses responded. That's an extremely high response rate. In fact, we've been compared to other areas, and our consultant was blown away by the engagement. Given the pandemic, limitations of not being able to meet in person, we were able to host open house sessions on the website and received valuable feedback. There were public sessions which were heavily advertised in advance at different stages, and each one of these provided time for your feedback, thoughts, and suggestions. We were also very encouraged by the participation of the diaspora. These are persons who once lived in the territory but moved away. We wanted to know why they moved and what it would take for them to return. Several meetings were held, and over 700 former residents of the territory living in other places around the world gave us their feedback. And finally, the public responded. We received 1,922 survey responses from residents. They come from all islands, and it really helped shape the final plan. The Vision 2040 report will be online after this session, as Mr. mentioned. It has 6 separate volumes. One full volume provides detailed summaries of what the residents and former residents told us needs to happen. All of the data and findings are in easy-to-read formats. Here's just one example of a word cloud where we show the words that you used to describe what the territory needs most. You can see from this that the territory needs most. You can see that the territory and most people feel that they would like to see the government be more responsive, followed by better infrastructure and more opportunities. The final report actually drills down on why people feel that way and what they think needs to happen to change things for the better. The process we used produced a wealth of information. I'm going to ask Dan Gunderson, who led the consultant team, to give some highlights on the findings from the research, surveys, interviews, and group engagement sessions.
Thank you, Chanel. This chart cuts right to the chase. 8,700 jobs, or 19% of all jobs. We all know what happened. The free fall first began with the recession of 2008 to 2010. Then the Havensa refinery closed. There were a couple years of flat growth before the territory experienced the effects of 2 back-to-back hurricanes. Rebuilding started to take place, and then, of course, the pandemic hit. The territory did not have a diversified economy, and because it could not bounce back from these man-made and natural disasters. The pie chart, which you just saw, shows that approximately 42% of all the jobs are in government and tourism sectors, When retail jobs are added to the mix, the percent of jobs in non-goods producing sectors starts to approach 60%. Now, economists would say that those numbers need to be reversed. To have a strong economy, the USVI needs to attract more businesses that produce products and value-added services. If we can leave it on this chart right now, you will see that the high rate of poverty is just one of the more visible consequences of an unbalanced economy that fails to produce enough private sector jobs. You can see that the USVI has a poverty rate of over 20% compared to the mainland average of 13.4%. So let's focus on businesses. What would it take to create more jobs and reduce poverty? Well, the short answer is confidence. We have a saying in the economic development business, and that is this: capital follows confidence. Where businesses see opportunity, there will be confidence, and investments will be made and jobs created. Unfortunately for the USVI, the business community is not confident. The Vision 2040 results show that 75% of businesses would have issues recommending the territory as a place to do business, and 87% do not believe that the business climate is good. This was one of the more stunning and sobering findings of the business survey. So much so that reversing those numbers became a central tenet of Vision 2040. The survey and the interviews drilled down on the reasons for this situation, and the report provides numerous recommendations for change. Let's assume for a moment that the business climate can change for the better. For instance, it becomes easier to obtain a business license, and rules and regulations are streamlined, and the word gets out that the U.S. Virgin Islands is doing all it can to assure that its businesses will succeed. Okay, well, the question then becomes, how many jobs need to be created to make a real difference? This chart shows just how many jobs must be created to stop the bleeding and get back to where the territory can actually be as healthy as it was before the Great Recession, and then continue to grow into the future. The blue dotted line shows that it would take the creation of 115 net new jobs each year for the next 10 years to stop the decline. And by the way, net new jobs is when you create more jobs than you lose. But here's the thing: creating 115 net new jobs each year will not reduce poverty or lead to prosperity. Instead, the territory needs to follow the green line of growth. To do that, it will take the creation of 1,000 net new jobs each year for 10 years, just to get to what we call the inflection point or the turning point, where the territory is at full employment. And that's roughly calculated at 4% of unemployment. That'd be the unemployment rate. That is the green line trajectory. Vision 2040 plan lays out how that can happen. Many of the answers came from the public, like we've mentioned. So let's go back to what the public said so that we can find what the answers are. What you say must happen. I'm going to turn it back to Chanel.
For those of you who joined us for some of the Zoom-based town hall meetings, this slide should look familiar in just a moment. We took a lot of notes and distilled the ideas into these 6 categories. We want, you want, and I want modern infrastructure that begins with reliable and affordable electricity and roads that are in good repair. You agree that the climate for conducting business needs to be improved. It is far too difficult to start a business here in the territory, and once opened, the challenges of keeping it going and making a profit are way too complex. Next, there is consensus that the education and workforce development system must help people be prepared for family-sustaining jobs. As most of the jobs of today and tomorrow will be based on new technologies, the territory must make sure it keeps up with the rest of the world. In its most simple form, that means making sure everyone has access to reliable broadband. And it also means that we need to introduce smart technologies into government, into our schools, hospitals, and to improve delivery of social services and the ability for people to work efficiently from home. Next, during our Vision 2040 work sessions, we talked a lot about the importance of tourism to the economy. The conclusion was that once the cruise industry gets back up and running, we need to make sure it continues to produce the visitor spending and tax revenue we need. But at the same time, we need to diversify the industry base so that we aren't as dependent on cruise ships and that we create better paying jobs in non tourism industries. And lastly, a common theme was to improve the quality of life and place on all islands. We heard quite a bit about crime and dilapidated buildings, and the need to do a better job with sustainability measures to ensure that the territory keeps its beauty. Mr. Biggs, I'm going to turn it over for you to talk about the jobs of the future.
You will remember that Dan said that we need to create a net new 1,000 jobs each year to put us on the path to prosperity. Here are the Vision 2040 targeted industries that we will get us there. One of the most exciting outcomes of Vision 2040 is the macroeconomic and aspirational goals that were developed. The Vision 2040 Task Force was very involved in the wording and setting of the quantitative goals that we need to be realized. Dan?
Really big picture goals. And here, the Vision 2040 expects that by 2030, the U.S. Virgin Islands will reach full employment. Now, full employment exists when everyone who wants a job can find one. It does not mean zero unemployment. In this case, we think 4% unemployment is the magic number to reach. And the last time that happened in the territory was just before the start of the Great Recession. The second macro goal is to reach economic stability in 2040. This means that economic growth and prosperity have taken root. There are no excessive fluctuations in GDP, and prices for goods and services are reasonable, manageable, and stable. Wayne?
All are equally important. The first is centered on agriculture. The USVI will, Dan, can you help me out?
Yes. The first goal is increase locally sourced food from 3% to 35% of local food demand. Agriculture-related industrial production will increase from 2% of GDP to represent 5% of GDP.
The second aspirational goal is for Dan.
Is for the U.S. Virgin Islands to become a blue economy research center of excellence in the world and for ocean-based tropical, in ocean-based tropical environments. The third goal then is that healthcare and health sciences will increase from 7% of GDP to 15% of the U.S. Virgin Islands overall GDP. Moving on, goal number 4. Entrepreneurs will have access to support and capital to scale their businesses, and the annual net change in establishments will increase from 14 to 50 establishments. Next, the fifth aspirational goal is that population in the U.S. Virgin Islands will increase 10% from the official 2020 U.S. Census. The sixth aspirational goal is that renewable sources of energy will represent 75% of total energy consumption, up from the 1% that they represent currently. Seventh aspirational goal for the next 2 decades is that the U.S. Virgin Islands will have the highest quality education system in the Caribbean, and that the University of the Virgin Islands will attract and retain the highest caliber science and technology talent. And the final aspirational goal, goal number 8, is that extended stay visits, authentic experiences, and cultural offerings will increase from 63% of tourism related revenue to 75%. What I'm going to do now is to give you a sneak peek into the Vision 2040 initiatives and recommendations. And again, as it has been said, that when this presentation ends, you're going to be able to go to the website and you're going to get that full report and you'll be able to peruse it. It's 283 or so pages, so there's a lot there. You'll be going back to it, as the governor said, time and again for reference, and I'm sure will be put to good use. Now, Vision 2040 lays out 115 new initiatives and recommendations in 5 general categories. Now, that sounds like a lot, but remember, different groups will be responsible for moving these along, so it becomes very manageable. And we talk about how that will work. Now, for each of the 5, we describe what a game changer would look like in that category. For instance, with business climate, the game changer would be if the public sector changes the way it relates to businesses and is viewed as a partner in growth. With education and workforce, the game changer would be if the entire education system, pre-K through 12, higher education, vocational, and workforce development, is upgraded to better prepare students and graduates for the jobs in the targeted sectors. And we'll get back to those targeted sectors in a little while. With infrastructure, the game changer would be to meet the aspirational goal of having 75% of energy needs met with renewable energy sources. To diversify the economy, the game changer would be for the territorial government to work with the Biden administration to establish a premier federal center for U.S. ocean-based clean energy and blue economy research and commercialization activities in the USVI. On the subject of quality of life and place, the most impactful game changer would be to bring crime, and especially homicide levels, down to levels consistent with the average in the U.S. mainland. In Volume 6 of the report, we list all of the 115 initiatives and recommendations. We also provide an action matrix, which you see one shot of on the screen, where each one of these initiatives is assigned to a point, agency, or organization that should be in charge of making it happen. Here we show which island it impacts, whether it is a short, medium, or longer term priority, and how it relates to fulfilling the aspirational goals that we just talked about. The report concludes with an estimate of what can be expected if Vision 2040 is implemented. We show growth in the targeted industry sectors and estimate that jobs could grow from 40,000 today to 52,000 by 2040. You can see here that the inner circle of each of these pie charts drives home the importance of research and development and how the blue economy is expected to double in importance in the next 20 years and represent the dominant proportion of jobs in the territory. Wayne, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Here are some next steps. First, we need to make sure that we keep the momentum. There's a lot to be done. The governor will have to establish an implementation task force to make sure each initiative moves forward. The Vision 2040 plan calls for an annual report on progress to be given to the public. Next, when you review the report, you will see it recommends that two big gaps get filled. One is to form a business climate commission comprised of private and public leaders. Its job will be to ensure that the territory makes it easier to start a business and remove unnecessary and costly obstacles that might prevent growth. The second is to establish a blue economy consortium to capitalize on this growing sector and make sure that the U.S. Virgin Islands becomes the epicenter for advances in the sector. Finally, the USVI EDA has received funding for additional phases of the Vision 2040. We will be focusing on addressing some of these energy-related problems facing the business community, evaluating the best ways to market our advantages and to attract capital, and doing what this report says is needed when it comes to providing business capital and equity to fill gaps. We're excited and optimistic about the future. Please read the full report. I am confident that if you do, you will find ways where you can do your part to shape the future of the territory we love. Chanel?
Thank you, Mr. Biggs, and thank you for joining us. The Vision 2040 report is now available on the website at USVI2040.com. Again, that's www.usvi2040.com. Make sure you sign up on the website and join the hundreds of people who are already receiving live updates and information. We'll be taking questions from the media shortly, but first, we have some commonly asked questions that have come to us from the website in recent days. I will start off by asking either Mr. Biggs or Mr. Gunderson to answer them. Mr. Biggs, what is the focus of the report?
Thank you, Chanel. Vision 2040 focuses primarily on economic strategies. It does not try to solve all problems facing the territory. Its main purpose is to help point us in the right direction so that we can create jobs and economic prosperity for all residents.
Thank you, Mr. Biggs. Another question we received is this the governor's report? Mr. Biggs?
Vision 2040 is a plan of the people and by the people. We clearly indicated that your participation was important to us and the data we received from your petition was encompassed into the report. The people's voices were made loud and clear, and from what a long-range vision was formed, Vision 2040 is objective and apolitical. It is a plan designed to span multiple administrations and generations. Governor Bryan supports Vision 2040 and will use it to help guide future policy and funding decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Biggs. Another question received is, who wrote the report, Vision 2040?
USVI EDA put out an RFP and after a competitive review process, retained a national economic development consulting firm, Camoin 310, to assist with the preparation of the planning process and report preparation, and consultants were hired to facilitate, help organize public input, synthesize information gathered, and prepare objective findings. They were guided by a task force and the USVI EDA, but ultimately they were responsible for writing and delivering the final product.
Thank you again, Mr. Biggs. Another question we received is, who funded Vision 2040?
Vision 20 was made available through grants from the U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, with local matching support from the U.S. Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funding.
Another question that we received through our website was, will funding be provided to implement the plan?
Plans of government departments, nonprofit organizations, and other groups. Some of those other plans are annual plans, and others have 5 and even 10-year plans. Vision 2040 provides the overarching goals. We hope that many of these other plans will support and, in fact, be made stronger by aligning under the Vision 2040 goals. Government departments will be able to refer to Vision 2040 when they develop budgets and target resources to make sure that the objectives of the plans are met.
Thank you again, Mr. Biggs. And so we did receive another question, simple but still very deep. Why now?
There's never a bad time for long-range plan, but this is arguably a perfect time. Still recovering from the 2017 hurricanes, and now as the world slowly emerges from the damages of COVID-19, the Virgin Islands finds itself at a critical crossroad. This plan provides a map for us so that we head in the right direction. It is about making sure the U.S. Virgin Islands can be a place where businesses want to be, and making sure that those businesses can grow and create quality jobs that provide livable wages.
Of course, what is on everyone's mind, what happens next?
We need to make sure that we keep the momentum. There's a lot to be done. The Governor's Office will have to establish a broad-based implementation task force to make sure each initiative moves forward. The Vision 2040 plan calls for an annual report on progress to be given to the public. Also, a Business Climate Commission will be formed, comprised of private and public leaders. Its job will be to ensure that the territory makes it easier to start a business and remove redundant and costly obstacles that might prevent growth. Next, a Blue Economy Consortium will be established to capitalize on this growing sector and make sure that the U.S. Virgin Islands becomes the epicenter for advances in the marine sector. Finally, the USVI EDA has received funding for additional phases of Vision 2040. It will focus on addressing some of the energy-related problems facing the business community, evaluating the best ways to market our advantages and attract capital, and doing what this report says is needed when it comes to providing business capital and equity to fill gaps.
Couple more questions and then we'll go to the media. Is there a role for residents of the Virgin Islands to help implement the Vision 2040 plan? How can I get involved? Was asked.
We do not think the plan will go anywhere unless the residents say it must. That's why this began as a community-based exercise. Look, daily events and even occasional crises happen. So, do the politics of the moment? This is a long-term plan, and the only way to keep it alive is to consistently ask our public officials and civic leaders what they accomplish each day to implement the Vision 2040 goals and objectives at the very least. The aspirational goals should be baked into every plan moving forward. The only way we will serve progress is if people see this as an imperative, not as a nice to think about plan.
I'm already receiving those texts about how people can get involved, which is amazing. So another question we received was, what are going to be the biggest obstacles to implementing this plan? Perhaps Mr. Gunderson, would you like to respond?
Obstacles would be apathy and cynicism. Look, nothing big has ever happened without overcoming doubt. You can do this. And I think every candidate, this is a personal opinion, but I think every candidate that runs for office should be expected to state what they are prepared to do to help realize the people's goals.
Thank you, Dan. And another question that came in, does diversification of the economy mean that cruise ship tourism won't be a focus moving forward?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, Dan. Thank you.
Sure. Well, the simple answer is no. The USVI Treasury and the businesses need the day trip and the short-term visitors that the cruise ships provide. What Vision 2040 says is that you have to keep the best of what the cruise industry does for the territory and maintain a steady revenue stream from it. But at the same time, what needs to grow is the proportion of long-term visitors who will spend more time and more money in the territory. That's going to make more economic and, quite frankly, ecological sense. And it's a good way to diversify not only the tourism sector, but the entire economy.
Well, it looks like we've got time to take on a few more questions that we received from our website. So this one's from Mr. Biggs. The planning process put a spotlight on the return of the diaspora. How significant of an economic opportunity is this for the Virgin Islands, and how do we make this happen? Mr. Biggs?
I'm sorry, Chanel. Can you repeat that, please?
Absolutely. So the planning process put a spotlight on the return of the diaspora. How significant of an economic opportunity is this for the Virgin Islands, and how do we make this happen?
We think this could be big. Over 700 expats around the world filled out the survey. We learned from the surveys of the diaspora that 78% travel regularly to the territory. Of that number, 45% visit once or twice a year. These are the long-term visitors that are now getting counted as tourists. When we asked if they would return permanently, 54% said they would if the right conditions and jobs are available. That's key because nearly 1/3 of these people have master's or PhD degrees, and 28% own businesses. That's real brain power and economic clout.
Another question received is, what are the top 3 to 5 highest priority initiatives of Vision 2040? Mr. Biggs?
Around the business climate, tapping into the economic potential of diaspora to encourage them to invest and return to the territory, becoming a premier center for the United States for the blue economy. Those would be my top 3.
Another question received, the research and public input identified many challenges. What were the bright spots or silver linings? Mr. Gunderson?
The fact that, as Wayne just mentioned, that more than half of those former Virgin Islanders, those who left, the fact that they would return is huge. That tells you that the USVI is a special place, that people want to live there, to be there. I think the challenge is to give them the reasons to return, to address, and to mitigate some of the weak areas. Another bright spot is that the lion's share of residents are optimistic about the future, in spite of all of the problems they have faced. And that's incredibly encouraging. And I hope that when you get to the report and you go to volume 4, and you see what your neighbors had to say, you too will be encouraged by the optimism that shines through. Yes, there are a lot of issues that came out, and nobody sugarcoated what they were. But at the end of the day, they felt that the Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, is poised to move in the right direction.
Thank you, Dan. And thank you as well, Mr. Biggs. At this time, we would like to open up questions to the media or from the media. So I've received a question. One of the questions asks, is there an environmental angle discussed in Vision 2040? Mr. Gunderson?
Yes, yes. Well, I think the biggest angle, if you will, are in the targeted sectors. There are 8 of these targeted sectors, and when you look at the 8, let's see, fully half of them are within, actually more than half, 5 of the 8 are would be considered in the blue economy, the blue or the green economy. This is as environmental as it gets. These targeted sectors include agribusiness, and that's aquaponics and aquaculture, hemp farming, specialty foods, farm to table. That was one of the sectors. Another sector was coastal and ocean resources, marine and maritime, and biology, sustainable harvesting for medicinal and nutritional purposes. An environmental angle here clearly is in the energy sector, in the move toward alternative energies over time. I think in talking about tourism that is what we call VI style tourism, where the focus is on heritage and culture and sports and adventure, wellness and boutique hotels, all of this plays very well for the environment. There's a big focus on research and development, particularly in those environmental areas of agritech and ocean and climate change. So, and the role of the academic partnerships in this area is huge. So again, the answer is yes. I would very much say that this is an environmentally friendly, sustainable course of action.
Thank you, Dan. And for those who are listening on radio, we did have a little hiccup with regards to reading out the full targeted industries. So to continue with Dan's answer, in addition to what has already been addressed, agribusiness, coastal and ocean resources, also included is health sciences, telemedicine, medical simulation, specialty care, and education. Another sector is light manufacturing, which would include regional foods, co-manufacturing, and resilient building materials. And then, of course, professional tech services, which include financial, IT, customer service centers, back office services, as well as remote work, consulting, and diaspora co-ventures. And then lastly, as already mentioned, renewable energy, research and development, and VI style tourism. And as we've indicated, when you dive into Vision 2040 report online, you'll get so much more details in each of these industries, as well as to see the, the depth of the aspirational goals. So we're going to take some more questions, perhaps from the media or even from social media at this time.
Yeah, Chanel, I'd like to indicate that as we looked at these targeted industries, they did fall into the governor's STEAM directive originally, as you are aware, services, technology, energy, agriculture, and manufacturing. So as Dan indicated, I think it's a very environmentally sound plan in regard to moving the territory forward, and we look forward to the implementation. As again, a thank you to the Camoin team, the VI EDA team, and also to the Virgin Islands public in regard to assisting us in putting this plan together. I encourage everyone to go out and read the plan. Again, Dan indicated it is roughly 250 plus pages, but I think it's good reading. It tells you how we got the information and where we got it from and how the plan was created. There are recommendations, there are the aspirational goals. They are the targeted industries so that we all can be on the same page as we move this plan forward. Again, thank you, Virgin Islanders. Thank you, Community 310. Thank you, the VI EDA's team for bringing this plan forward. We look forward to the other plans that will be forthcoming, and again, their alignment with Vision 2040. If there's any questions, you can always go to our website, type your questions in, and we will respond to those questions accordingly. Thank you all.